I'm so excited. Oh, y'all don't know how excited I am to give y'all another book update. So um, this is the third update, and the other two, got my little hat. Yeah, I mean, I like to say fashionable, but the other two, I did one about a week and a half ago, and I did another one like a week and a half before that. So I'm trying to do it every week and a half to give you an awesome update on this book. So if you don't know, I am the author of a book called Level Your Wings, A Pilot's Guide to Healthy Relationships. And it is a book where I take both of my careers as an Army helicopter pilot and a marriage therapist, and I clash them together and use analogies to help drive home the importance of everything that it takes two pilots to do in a helicopter to stay alive is required and analogous to everything that it takes two people in a relationship to keep the relationship alive. So that's the gist of the book. And so what I've been doing and what I'll continue to do for about 10 weeks, or maybe a little bit longer than that, but 10 videos of updates, and it'll give you insight on the chapter. It won't give you all the details, but it'll give you a sneak peek. So this book that this chapter that I'm talking about today is about flight plan. And this is a really cool analogy that I desire to use to draw a link between planning and goal setting in relationships. So we'll just start off on what has to happen prior to us departing in a helicopter. Before we depart, we have to make sure we know what type of flight plan are we going to use. Are we going to do an instrument flight plan, or are we going to do a visual flight plan and do flight following? And essentially, this is going to let us know that we will be legally able to get from point A to point B under some type of plan that is either visually, and we'll do flight following with our unit, or with a visual flight plan through air traffic control, or we will anticipate not being able to navigate ourselves through the air, and we desire to be under instrument flight rules. So if we do an instrument flight plan, we're going to be required to send our destination. If an alternative is required, we're going to have to analyze the weather to determine if the weather at that location is going to be sufficient for us to land given the capabilities of our helicopter. We're going to have to submit it in a timely manner so that the air traffic controllers are able to say, hey, these people want to take off from here and go to here, and we're going to help them get there. And the reason why we need to lean on them is because they are navigating and instructing everyone else in the air to get from their point A to B to C. So when we submit an instrument flight rules, an IFR flight plan, we are telling them we are not able to maintain clearance, a safe distance from all the other aircraft, and we're going to be at a high altitude where there will be other traffic. With all that being said, the air traffic controller will be able to get us from point A to point B, whether we're in the clouds, whether we're outside the clouds, whatever altitude that we need to be at to keep from running into mountains, whatever we need to be, they will be able to be our safety net. And they will orchestrate where you need to be, what time you need to be there, what happens if you're not there by a certain time. So all of that is all under air traffic control, under their parameters of how to get us from point A to B when we're doing instrument flight plan. We're literally flying off the azimuth. They'll say, hey, turn heading 360, turn heading 090 at this altitude. So they're going to direct us. We will literally be puppets, and they're the puppet master, telling us, deconflicting. But we also have to be aware of our own capabilities when we're in that helicopter. The other type of flight plan that we can do as pilots, we can do a visual flight plan. And that is simply saying that we are ultimately going to navigate to where we need to be based off of our own ability to fly, to see and avoid, to be at appropriate altitudes under the appropriate visibility and ceiling requirements of the clouds. It's falling off a little bit, but yeah, so that's what we're going to do. And if we desire to do visual flight following, then we may just call up our people back home and say, hey, we're here, we're going to do they'll have us on the radar, just to kind of keep communication with us so that they are aware of where we are in the event that we go down. If we go down for any type of emergency, they'll know at least they weren't orchestrating where we needed to be, but they are aware of where they need to send the search and rescue. So that is flight planning on the military side. It allows us to take into consideration our goal, where we need to get there, and the timeline. Now, in the same way of relationships, you need to determine, are you going to be flying in this relationship by instruments or by visual? You're going to use visual reference to fly, or are you going to use your instruments and allow an external entity to determine and dictate where you're going to go? So as I break down this analogy, for instruments, if you're in a relationship and you rely heavily on keeping up with the Joneses, if you rely heavily on what other relationships are doing, where they are in their life, hey, we should have a baby by now. We should be should have bought a house by now. We should have paid off our debt by now. We should have. That is allowing an external entity to orchestrate where you are in life in that relationship. Are you desiring to fly instruments based off of societal norms, based off of societal pressures, and based off of what the society desires you to be, where they desire you to be? Or is it because of you in your relationship? Is it more emphasis on the outside, putting pressure on where you should be, or is it an internal decision? So that's one way you can look at instrument flight rules. Instrument flight rules dictated by societal norms, by where you should be relative to your person that's the same age as you, they got married the same time as you. All of those types of comparisons are putting on pressures in the relationship to shift your direction, to orchestrate where you should be at what time, at what altitude. The other way that you can use instruments is, instead of allowing society to be your air traffic control, instead of deciding and allowing the external entity to be the social networks, based off of social groups, based off of books you're reading, based off of what's in mainstream right now. Instead of using that as your external entity, are you using something else, such as a higher power, such as God? Are you allowing God to be your air traffic controller of the relationship? Are you allowing Him to tell you where you should be, to guide you where you desire to go? Are you leaning on Him? Are you praying to Him? Hey, we have this new job opportunity. Let's pray about this before we just take it because of the money. Let's pray about this instead of comparing ourselves to what our neighbors are doing because they got a raise and they got a promotion and they're doing it. So now we need to do it. Are you doing it for yourself, or are you leaning and seeking on a higher power, on some external entity that's not society, that's not a comparison factor on what's in the news, but it's actually God that's guiding your life? Are you allowing Him to be your air traffic controller? Are you consulting Him? Are you praying to Him when there are an extreme amount of intense decisions that need to be made in your relationship? Are you consulting Him, or are you just going off of what you think based off of social media? Now, all of those two analogies are simply instrument flight rules based off of the society, keeping up with the Joneses, being your external entity or your air traffic controller, or doing instrument flight based off of God. Is God being your air traffic controller when you're in this relationship flying to your next destination? Are you allowing God? Are you allowing your higher power? Are you allowing a deeper and greater purpose being to determine where you go in life in this relationship? In the same sense, when you do a visual flight rules, it is exactly what it sounds like. Are you in this relationship flying by what you can see? Are you literally deciding where you're going to go, where your next step is going to be in this relationship based off of what you can see? Are you in this relationship by faith or by sight? Are you in this helicopter together with your partner saying, hey, let's drive, let's fly, let's move forward right now, and we both determine where we're going to turn. Let's go up to this mountain and then turn right 90 degrees. You're in agreement in this helicopter together, flying visually, calling out obstacles. Hey, we got a bird 9 o'clock. We got a bird 2 o'clock high, no factor. Hey, we got a bird converging on us. Hey, there's another helicopter, there's another airplane out there. Are you with your partner determining what you're going to do in that airplane or in that relationship based off of what you both can see and avoid? There's benefits to flying VFR and there's benefits to flying IFR by visually or being controlled by external entity under instruments. You have to determine, where are you right now? How are you flying? And where do you desire to fly to? And how do you desire to fly to? Because you may have just jumped into this relationship and determined that you're going to fly visually. You like what you see, you like what she brings to the table, you like her potential, but you don't quite know it yet because it's so fresh. How about you sit down and take a moment to create a plan with your partner to determine, how are we going to fly? How are we going to make decisions? Can I feel heard in this helicopter, in this relationship? Can I feel heard if I raise up an obstacle that you may not see, but I see? And if I see an obstacle that you don't see, it's going to cause detriment to both of us because we're in this together. So I challenge you in this chapter. I didn't give all the details. I got a few more that I left out. But I challenge you in this chapter, when you read about flight planning and how flight plan for helicopter pilots is analogous to flight plan in the relationship, I challenge you to determine, are you flying by instruments? Are you flying visually? And who is the orchestrator? Who is your air traffic controller in this relationship? And if you're flying visually, do you allow your other partner to be heard? Do you allow them to have input on where you're going, on what you see, how you want to avoid it, and what altitude you're going to be at? You get the opportunity to take time to determine that with your partner. Okay? So I'm excited. Y'all know I'm always excited to share the different sneak peeks of the topics in the different chapters of Level Your Wings, A Pilot's Guide to Healthy Relationships. And of course, I'm a helicopter pilot in the Army, been in for over 15 years now. Been flying for over 8. So, and then I'm also a licensed clinical mental health counselor, associate, which I focus on couples counseling and couples therapy. So I want you all to take that nugget, take this little sneak peek and allow it to launch you into your future with your partner and determine how you're going to fly in this flight plan. So let me say hey to a couple of shout outs. Hey Carmen, awesome job, good teaching. Thank you, Bonita, thank you so much. Maria, thank you so much for your love. Maurice, Luann, hey y'all, hey Wanda, thank y'all. Paulette, Ricky, hey Lamar, Beauty and Brains, thank y'all so much. My besties watching. Hey Nifali, y'all, I just want to thank y'all for all the support that you've given me, all the support that you've shown, and just stay tuned for more updates. Bye.